Shalom, everyone. Welcome to the free Theology course. I am Dr. Yasapa from Zion Law School. So we're going to continue with the Devil's Pulpit, proving that Jesus was never crucified. So everything I'm going to present within the next, say, 30 minutes is coming from the Devil's Pulpit. This is by Robert Taylor, the Reverend Robert Taylor, published in 1851. Okay, y'all. So I have about 30 minutes, I think. So here we go, page 220, where we left off. First paragraph. So we were talking about the vernal or spring equinox and the fall or autumn equinox as they relate to JC, okay, his crucifixions. Remember, there are two crucifixions, one at Golgotha, at Skull Place, and then the other in Egypt. Okay, y'all, so I don't have time to really go through that, but you can get that on page 218, or you can get the details of that. So let's go back to page 220. Here we go. All right. Oh, by the way, I just thought, before I came on, I was reviewing some information about the four corners, right? The first four corners that we know of, the cardinal points that we know of in the modern Zodiac are not the original four corners. In other words, they're not ancient. They are not the mindset of our ancient foremothers and forefathers. The four corners happen to be the four corners of the Great Bear, or y'all know the dipper part. It looks like a cup with a handle. It's made of four corners. Those were the original four corners of the world. That's also the original cross. That's the original cross, so that there is a cross in the north, celestial pole region, and of course there's a southern cross or a southern cruise. Now they do a lot of slick stuff to prevent you from realizing that. Okay, so there is a cross in the north and a cross in the south. Okay, so both celestial pole regions have a cross and a circle. All right, y'all. But anyway, let's get into it. So page 220, it just so happens that 2 plus 2 is 4. And I was just studying about the four corners. All right, I was studying that. This is just phenomenal stuff. I can't wait to bring this to y'all. I may as well show you a picture. So y'all see the Big Dipper? Look at the header. Do y'all see the Great Bear? Today they call it the Big Dipper. See the four dots, the four stars that make up the cup. The three make up the handle. Okay, y'all. The second star of the handle is actually the Egypt above. Okay, and later it becomes the Egypt below. Following the Hermetic Law of Correspondence, as above, so below, as below, so above. It happens in the heavens first. Now y'all look here. Can y'all see that cross? Okay, y'all, do y'all see that cross? Let me rotate it. Let me see. How does it look? It's upside down. So let me rotate it this way. Oops, hold on. Be patient, y'all. Do y'all see that cross? Is it coming in clear? You see the cross? All right, y'all. The cross is right here. Okay? There's the cross. Where my finger is, that's the cross. That's actually the cup of the Big Dipper. Everybody see that? So this is the cross, the original four corners. Okay, and of course there's the Southern Cruise. All right, y'all. So we just happen to be on page 222. 2 plus 2 is 4. I was just studying about the original four corners, like I said. And of course, that's the Great Bear, and its primary or initial revolution around the pole star. Well, guess what? That's the circle. And the circle is the arc. So I will show y'all, we'll go through this again. I will show y'all the evidence as we get to it, but I'll put it here. Y'all can read that yourself, okay? This is the Celestial Ship of the North, Volume 1. All right, so there we are. Now let's go back to the Devil's Pullpit, page 220. The Jewish ceremony, oh, and by the way, the original four corners are the four corners of the world. Okay, it is the circle. As a matter of fact, do I want to do this? Hold on. I'm not going to go too much into it, but if I can find it. I like how it says this. This is what it says. The ark was the circle made. The ark was the circle made. So you need to connect that to Noah's Ark and all of the ark stories in mythology. The ark was the circle made by the constellation of the Great Bear, that primary circle made in heaven and earth, and is inseparable from the cross. I just showed you the cross, which was the symbol and type of the first four corners of the world. And of course, this circle has many meanings. For example, one of those meanings is the course of time. Circle, cross, and Christ, and Christos, Chrestos in the Greek. Okay, y'all? Hope you can see circle 7. You see Christ, right? And guess what? The Christ happens to be you. It happens to be you and I. Okay? So anyway, let's go back to it. So first paragraph, the Jewish ceremony consisted essentially, so the four corners, okay? We're dealing with the equinoctial points. Spring and fall equinoxes. So the Jewish ceremony consisted essentially in eating their lamb. The Christian ceremony, of course that's Easter, consisted primarily of eating the flesh. Keep that in mind, eating the flesh and drinking the blood of the Lamb of God that taketh away the sin of the world. So here we have Antangelo, is that Antangelo Gracio at Zion Law School. Of course, Christ was crucified. What are you even talking about? Well, why don't you keep learning and you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about. Your question says, what am I talking about? So you are indicating through your language that you don't know what I'm talking about, which means you should sit back and learn, okay? So you answer your own question. Take note. Take note. it says here, eating the flesh. Eating the flesh, this represents the vernal or spring equinox. Eating the lamb meal for Passover. And also for the Christians at this time, they were eating lamb. Okay? The autumn equinox, the drinking of the blood, represents the autumn or fall equinox, where Christ is crucified, which is y'all, what is it? September 22nd. What is that? We deal with September 22nd. This is the grape harvest, the harvest of the grapes. So the drinking of the blood is the fall or autumn equinox, okay? Where the people would make wine from the grapes, okay? They smash the blood of the grapes out of the wine and use it for vintage, which is the wine making process, and they remix vintage for wine making into vengeance to scare the hell out of you and force you into submission. Okay, force you into submission by fear. By fear. So, Antangelo, Grasso writes, why do you think you are entitled to be? I'm not your teacher. The Gospels testify that Jesus was crucified and resurrected the third day at Zion Law School. Okay, so Antangelo. Google search Jeremiah chapter 8, verse 8 in the Amplified Bible, or just Google search Jeremiah verse 8, chapter 8, verse 8 in the Bible Hub. Google search it, copy paste it, put it in the chat, and then we will look at your question again, okay? I'll give you an answer. All right, so now let's continue. Next paragraph. And this festival of Easter, on which all festivals depend, always falling after the first Sunday after the first full moon. So there's a full moon, and then the first Sunday after the full moon is going to be Easter. Okay, this is what the author is saying. So pay attention, please. Which happens next after 21st of March, 21st, 22nd of March, somewhere around there, is going to be the vernal or spring equinox, okay? So Antangelo writes again, the Gospels refute your claim. Okay, all right. Okay, good enough. Good enough. So you're not willing to do any investigation. I'm making it easy for you, telling you, instructing you what you should do, and you won't even do that. That's called being ignorant. You're ignoring the information. Okay? And therefore you consent to all the abuse you have been taking. And you probably are so brainwashed, so indoctrinated that you don't realize that you are being abused. But anyway, let's keep it going. All right, so Easter comes after the sun passes over the celestial equator somewhere around March 21st. So the first full moon after March 21st, and then the first Sunday after that. Okay, this is the Christian's day for Easter. Now let's continue. When the sun passes over or crosses over the equator and enters into the Lamb is the zodiac sign or constellation Aries. When the Jews, now note that Jew is a religion, it is not a nation. Jews, that's a religion. Anyone can join it. It has its origin, according to the biblical scholars, sometime shortly after or just at the ending of Babylonian captivity. So we're dealing with a religion, not a nation of people. That's the point. So we're not dealing with a people who have a birthright. We're dealing with a religion. Is that clear? In other words, they have no heritage and no inheritance. It's a religion, all right? So let's continue. So the Jews eat their Passover lamb. And by the way, also, that gives us the chronology. We're able to put a date on this, an approximation of a date, okay? Or at least know where this is happening in the span of time. Now let's continue. And the Christians eat their crossover lamb. This lamb eating always follows after the long fast of Lent. After the long fast of Lent, during which it was always the most damnable sin that a man could commit to eat anything but fish. Now y'all know this is true. Everybody knows Fish Friday and the Catholic Lent. As here you see, now here's the astrological solution. Here's the astrological solution. As here you see, the constellation of the Lamb comes immediately after the constellation of the fishes. Y'all see the astrological solution now? And of those who cannot see it, I ask no more faith in my word. So don't trust me. That's what the author is telling you. Then that they will believe me that the month of March comes after that of February. In other words, the author is saying, use your common sense. Don't believe him. You know as well as everyone else that March comes after February. Continue. But in the ceremony of taking the sacrament, it is both the crucifixion. It is both the crucifixions. Remember, Christ was crucified twice. Once at Golgotha skull place and once in Egypt. Okay? Christ was crucified twice. Now, it continues. It is both the crucifixions or Passover that are celebrated. So in other words, celebrating both crucifixions. Oh, how? Here's an astrological solution for you Christians. And well, actually you Hebrew Israelites too. And here it reads, and we eat his flesh in honor of the vernal crucifixion. Well, the vernal crucifixion, that's what? That's Aries the Lamb. Aries the Lamb. Aries the Lamb of God. And drink his blood in honor of the autumn crucifixion. His blood being nothing else than the blood of the grapes. Here we are talking about natural phenomena. Springtime, the vernal equinox, right? And then the autumn equinox, which is wine making season, September 22nd. September 29th is the last day that you can get sweet wine. After that, anything you press out of the grape is going to be sour or bitter. In other words, you're just going to get grape juice that the quality is only good enough for making vinegar. And this is why JC drinks vinegar. And then he says it is finished. Well, what's finished? Wine making season is finished. Okay, but the Christians, the Solarites, scared you to death and remixed, changed the meaning of the word vengeance, which is winemaking. And they got the whole world thinking that that word means God is coming back to exterminate people. Okay, y'all? So you've been played, I was played, but here we're dealing with nature and natural phenomena and celestial bodies. Not one single devil or demon So what you scared of? Okay, his blood being nothing less than the blood of grapes, which are ripe in September. His flesh is the mutton, mutton is lamb. His flesh is the mutton ready for the spit in spring. Thus, as to preach the gospel is declared by the speaker in the gospel to be the same thing as to quote unquote to preach the acceptable year of the Lord. So, quote unquote, the doctrine of the cross. Let me say it again. The doctrine of the cross. That is the science of it. Let me say it again. The doctrine of the cross, that is the science of it, is none other than the science of astronomy. No devils, no demons. Science, astronomy, and natural phenomena. That's it. The seasons. Okay, we're going to eat the lamb in the spring, and we make sweet wine with the grapes in the fall. Okay? So let's let the author continue giving you the business. Okay? Opening your eyes. And I alone, okay, I alone, this is what the author is telling you. His name is the Reverend Robert Taylor. And I alone, I like that very much. And I alone, you see, am the only faithful minister of the gospel. And I alone am the only faithful minister of the gospel and true preacher of the cross. And all of this priest-ridden, priest-insulted, and priest-cheated metropolis, which means city. Do you understand what the author is telling you? The author is telling you that he is telling you the truth. He told you the truth about what this means. The others at this time, many of them knew, but they weren't going to tell you because that would empty their pockets. So let me quote the author. I alone, yes, me, I alone, in today's time, Dr. Yasapa, I alone am the only faithful minister of the gospel. Let me say it again. I am Dr. Yasapa from Zion Law School. I'm the only faithful minister of the gospel and true preacher of the cross. I just showed you the cross. Circle 7 and the clock of destiny. I just showed you the cross. So why am I telling you I alone? I'm not boasting and I'm not bragging. I'm telling you I alone am teaching you. So when people like Antigello get upset and get mad, well, you know, sometimes that work hurt. Sometimes that work stings. There you are. There's that cross in the north celestial pole. Okay, in the Garden of Eden, Mount Meru. And if you have some wisdom, you will see that vertical line is the tree of knowledge. It's the pole. You take it back further, it's what? The totem pole, y'all. There's that cross in the north celestial pole region. Okay? It's the of the Great Bear, which is today called Big Dipper. So you never know anything about the Great Bear, which is where we come from. Okay? Which is where we come from. All right? Y'all see that? Okay? So let me look at some of these comments here. So the crossing writes, I have trodden the wine press alone, YHVH. What is his name and what is the name of his son? Surely you know. Hold on, I might address you. Hold on. So let's continue, next paragraph. Oh, no, I'm not finished. But I really like the author's candid way of writing. And I also like very much how he tells it like a TI is. He's the real faithful minister of the gospel for telling you the truth. Telling us the truth. Now let's continue. So next sentence. And in bearing the name of the devil's chaplain. Y'all see, he has to bear the name of the devil's chaplain. Why? Because the ecclesiastical class called him the devil's chaplain, the devil's preacher, the devil's servant, to turn the people against him. Why? Because he was telling them the truth. Because he was telling them the truth. So what did he do? He embraced it and turned it back on them. Just like the blacks embraced the N-word, and then they use it affectionately in different ways amongst each other to take the sting out of it. Okay, when someone's degrading you. So this is what the author is doing. Let's continue. So in bearing the name of the devil's chaplain and bishop of hell, this is what they called him, branded him with, because he was telling the truth, because he was a faithful minister of the gospel. And every other reproachable epithet that Christian malice can fasten on me. I bear the reproach of the cross. Now how about that, y'all? He says, I bear the reproach of the cross. And that's a whole lot deeper than what y'all think. Okay? It is purely an astrological statement that has been remixed into religious doctrine and added to a history of a historical Christ. Okay? It actually has to do with us. I think I should talk about this. So bearing the reproach of the cross, this is when someone is in a lower self, okay? Lower self state of mind, in religion, in the solar zodiac projection, as much as y'all might not like to hear that. And then you have to go through a series of events, a series of pains and sufferings. Okay? And who's walking you through that? Who's bridging you through that? Saturn. Okay? I'm telling y'all how the story goes. Saturn, the planet Saturn. Okay? Saturn, justice, discipline, self-control. Okay? Allows you or puts you in situations where you're going to receive some pain and suffering so that you can learn and grow and develop your mind, develop your character, if you so choose to. Okay? So here we are. This is the Hermetic Law of Polarity. This is Satan the devil. This is the Christ. This is the Hermetic Law of Polarity. Okay, summer solstice, winter solstice. Y'all see it? Okay? And as you move up or transmute up You're moving toward the higher self. This is the bridging. The bridging. This is Saturn providing a bridge. And that bridge is pain and suffering. That bridge from the lower self to the higher self is pain and suffering. And your willingness to accept it and learn and overcome those challenges, right? I'm going to paraphrase Noble Drew Ali. He says a soldier never knows his strength until he gets put in situations where he is going to suffer. Feel some pain and suffer. That's how you learn your strength, and that's how you overcome and build your character. Okay, y'all? Anyway, let's keep going. So I bear the reproach of the cross. And if this way of preaching seemed to you to be foolish, the crossing and, what's your name? I'm sorry for mispronouncing your name. It's just that I've never seen this name before. Attainder. If this way of preaching seems to you to be foolishness, it seems so not because you are believers in Christ, but because you are not. But because you are not believers in Christ. The preaching of the cross is foolishness to them that believe not. That is, that understand not. Okay, do you understand? Now, do y'all see how the Gospels have double, triple, quadruple meanings? Okay, so for you who are the faithful followers, well, I wouldn't even say faithful, I'll say followers. You get the romantic, love, 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 and innocent, and all of that. But for the secret society members who are on the inside of the house, Christ friends, the historical Jesus friends, let me put it that way, they get the meaning that's associated with the mindset required to rule over the masses. Do you understand? The crossing writes, pain and suffering refer the bottom of the painting, the last judgment, details from the cupola of the... Okay, thank you for that. Okay? All right. So you don't believe. If you're not willing to go out and investigate, you don't believe. In other words, you don't understand. Okay? You don't understand, and you darn sure don't understand. So you have nothing to stand on. The crossing writes, does that look like people being put on rotisserie by draconians? I have no idea what you're talking about. The preaching of the cross is foolishness to them that believe not, that is, that understand not, that keen not, K-E-N, that sap, S-A-P not, that are not up to it. Okay, in other words, you're not up to doing any type of research. Okay, remember, Christ is crucified in skull place. Christ is crucified in skull place. I think this is a good time for me to, if I can find it, I'm going to read what it means. Christ is crucified in skull place. Okay, and the S-U-N Son, this is on page 217, last paragraph. Second from the last paragraph. And the S-U-N Sun, in the order of nature, crosses the equator twice every year. So you will find in your New Testament allegory that there are actually two crucifixions. And Christ is said to be crucified twice. That is, once upon Mount Calvary, the place of a skull In parentheses, it says, as if to say, brains were of no use. Let me say it again. Brains were of no use to that skull that is so thick, so indoctrinated, as not to find a way out, or not so as not to find out the meaning of the allegory. Okay? As here you see, most literally is the place of a skull. You crucified the Christ in your brain because I don't want to say you're too lazy. I'll just say you're too indoctrinated. I think that's a more kinder and gentler, maybe even more true statement. Anyway, let's keep it going. Where are we? But to us who are up to it, but to us who know this information, but to us who were introduced to it, and we actually researched it. See, we have eyes to see and we actually perceive it. Why? Because we did the hard work. Okay? I led you to Jeremiah 8, verse 8, and you did nothing with it. Absolutely nothing with it. You probably didn't even Google search it or look it up in your own Bible. But as to us who are up on it, who know what these crucifixions are, who do understand it, who see through it, and see through all the vile, canting hypocrisy of the reverend knaves, okay, the reverend tricksters, the tricksters who taught you this doctrine that you are espousing and quoting. Yeah, they're knaves, tricksters. Who would hinder you from seeing through it? Who would hinder you from seeing through it? This preaching of the cross, which they call foolishness, is most literally preaching, quote unquote, the power of God and the wisdom or science of God. That is, of the S-U-N Sun and the constellation of the Lamb, in which the cross takes place, right? The sun is passing over the celestial equator, and which is the tribe of Gad. The vowels are interchangeable, which is the tribe of Gad, G-A-D, G-O-D, G-I-D, G-U-D, G-Y-D, okay? Gad, which is the tribe of Gad. The same, whether you call him Adonis, look up the Tetragrammaton in your Strong's lexicon. It's going to point you to Strong's number 3068. It's going to tell you that the divine name, and I'm giving you an answer here, who asked me about the divine name, was too holy to pronounce. So therefore, there's a tradition of speaking of the divine name as Adonai, and the plural, I believe, is Adonis. So if you go look those up, I think it's Strong, it's Hebrews number 113 and 111, something like that. You'll get the meaning of those words, or that word rather, in the singular. Let me rephrase that. As it refers to a man and as it refers to deity. Okay, then you go check Strong's number 1180 and you will see that this tetragrammaton is in fact Baali, the Baal deities. Is the Baal deities that you have been taught are the devil. And here you are not knowing anything about what you believe and unwilling to even investigate, ignorant through your own will or lack of will. I don't even know how to deal with that. But ignorant because of yourself. And you don't know anything about what I'm talking about. Now, the tetragrammaton is not pronounced. Nobody knows the vowel sounds according to them, right? Why? I'm going to tell you why. You can get it right out of the Celestial Ship of the North. Here's why. This is volume 1. This is the cover. Okay, Celestial Ship of the North by Emma Valencia Straighton. Here's why. Because Jehovah initially is feminine. A feminine mythological deity. A remix of the Great Mother Typhoon. Feminine. Feminine. But remember, we're not dealing with flesh and blood, men and women. We're dealing with cosmic energy. The Hermetic Law of gender. The Great Mother is a Hermetic Law of gender in the function of forming, transforming, producing, and reproducing. Okay, the Great Mother Nature. This is what we're dealing with. So the Solarites, when they disgraced, degraded, and defamed us through warfare, public policy, birthright theft, you name it, they remixed the Great Mother into what you now call YHWH in all of its various pronunciations. Okay, and they said it's too holy to pronounce because if you knew the full spelling of it, you would be able to recognize based upon the spelling that it is a feminine deity. That's why the Jewish people don't pronounce the name, and almost none of them probably know that. And that's why you Christians and Hebrew Israelites, you don't know how to pronounce the name, and y'all fight and argue about it. Y'all insult each other, disgrace each other, talk bad about each other, try to show each other up, destroy each other's reputation over what? Because you're trying to build your church and your camp. All right. Okay, well, the crossing says I see through you. Well, that's okay. If you see through me, that's fine. That's fine. That doesn't bother me one bit. Time to go. Oh. What time do you close?
15 minutes.
In 15 minutes, okay. Thank you. All right, y'all. So here we go. I'm assuming you're a Christian or a Hebrew Israelite, or Christian and Catholic is the same. Here we go, the follower defending the deity. Okay, y'all. So anyway, let's keep it going. We're on page 221 now. We got 15 minutes. All right. Oh, listen to what the author says. Listen to what the author says. He says here, the preaching of the cross, which they call foolishness, is most literally preaching, quote unquote, the power of God and the wisdom or science of God, that is, of the Escheat sun and the constellation of the Lamb, in which the cross takes place, and which is the tribe of Gad, and the same, whether you call him, listen y'all, Adonis, or Jesus, Mars, the god of war, or Yahoo, the Lord of hosts. Page 221. I just don't understand why y'all Christians feel like y'all need to come up here and defend your doctrine or deity. Can y'all see that? Everybody see that? Look at the bottom. Okay, pause it on the replay. I hope it's focusing. It doesn't look focused from my end. But anyway, there's a free PDF, a link to a free PDF in the description area of the video, y'all. So y'all go get it. Okay, so here the author is telling you that this is dealing with Yahoo. Now, I just gave you a lot of valuable information. I just gave you a lot of valuable information. Y'all go research it in your Strongs, okay? And you're gonna find out that your leaders have led you into worshiping what you've been taught is a demon, Baali, okay? Just read it. If your reading comprehension is not high enough, you might not understand what you're reading, okay? If that's the case, you should come to one of my classes. And they it is who want to put down the rotunda. The rotunda is the building where the author gave these lectures in the late 1820s, early 1830s, okay? Who are the quote-unquote enemies of the cross of Christ, whose God is their belly, you greedy. I'm not going to say the rest. And who mind earthly things. Why are you minding earthly things? Because, see, the cross is celestial. The cross is celestial. It's not a historical person. Okay, y'all? Whereas the true doctrine of the cross has no earthly foundation whatever. And I, says the author, and I, its true preacher, do set my affection on the things above celestial. And he's giving you the celestial solution of these dogmatic religious doctrines and mythologies. Not on the things of the earth. And my conversation is, as you see and hear, in heaven. Okay? In heaven. Space, right? Where? And where alone, as you may see, in this delineation, is the crucified Lamb, which the Escheat and Sun enters in March, so that's constellation Aries, and where the Lamb's wife, that is Mrs. Lamb, which is what, y'all? The Virgin of August. Okay, so we have the Lamb and the Virgin. Okay, y'all? The Lamb and the Virgin. As the psalmist sublimely exclaims, quote unquote, forever, O Lord, thy word is true in heaven. Oh, by the way, let me take you back. If I have time, I'm going to take you back to show you what the original word, the original logos is. Guess what? I've already told you. And so it is. But it was never true on earth. And none but a fool or a dunce would ever have dreamed that it was so. And they who have represented Christ and his apostles as persons, these are represented Christ and his apostles as historical people instead of constellations and the Escheat and Sun that ever existed upon the earth, do turn the truth of God into a lie. Now let me show y'all something about the original logos. And this is for the Moors. This is for Genesis chapter 2, autochthonous men and women sprung from the soil. The cross is composed of Chi and Rho, C-H-I, and Rho, R-O, which reads CHR. Okay, no vowel. CHR was accepted as an abbreviation for the name of Christ, so only the consonants, okay? Or conveyed that meaning, or conveyed the meaning of Christ, but was not of Christian origin. Yeah, it's much older than Christianity. Let's continue. 40 years before the Christian era, it was found, this CHR was found on the coins of the Ptolemies, the Ptolemy pharaohs, right? And also on the coins of Herod. Chi and Rho, listen y'all, Chi and Rho are the circle and the cross. The Ru, R-U, the Ru is an oval found on the top of the Ankh, the Egyptian Ankh cross, okay y'all? Which we find as the symbol of the planet Venus. Okay, that makes total sense. Venus is a woman. It's a womb, right? It's a womb. And the two horizontal lines are the ovaries, or the fallopian tubes in the ovary. And then, of course, the vertical line is the vaginal canal. Now, let's continue. In Egyptian, CHR or KHER or KHERU signifies a word, a voice, and later became the solar logos. CER is a circle and identified with the ark. KR and ark, ARK, are symbols of the cross and the circle. What cross? Well, the original, or the Great Bear, this cross, y'all. And the circle is the primary, or that initial revolution that it made around the pole star. Y'all see it? Okay. He continues. The ark was the circle made by the constellation of the Great Bear, that primary circle in heaven and earth, and is inseparable from the cross, which was a symbol and type of the first four corners of the world. The four corners, y'all, our holy writs, the four corners, our holy writs, we're talking law, right? Y'all go to enforcetheconstitution.org, enforcetheconstitution.org if you all are in autochthonous Moor and you want to return to the mindset of your ancient foremothers and forefathers and get your birthright back. You can learn about these holy writs. Let's continue. See, Noble Drew Ali, Prophet Noble Drew Ali told us that the half has not been told. Okay? So, what is he saying has not been told? The circumpolar zodiac is part of that half that has not been told, because the solar zodiac, which he talks about, and the Bible stories that he talks about, he knew that we would one day, as a people, be able to trace that back to the Great Mother Typhoon, the circumpolar zodiac, Circle 7, and the Clock of Destiny. And natural law. Do no harm. Don't injure anyone. Or if you want to talk about the Ten Commandments, don't steal. Most people can relate to that. Now let's continue. Ru, R-U, or KR is a circle or a course of time. Time. Clock, time, clock of destiny. And in various other languages has the meaning of a course. Now, y'all should also remember that Mizar is the second star in the handle of what's today called the Big Dipper, which is the Great Bear. Mizar, well, Mazarah, or the course, the old path, has its origin from Mizar. Y'all follow? In Greek, it became an abbreviation of chronos, time. So time is a circle. This is why I'm reading this to y'all. K, capital R, is the root of the name Cronus. Course, circle, cross, and Christ. Y'all got that? Who knew? Who knew? Christos, Chrestos, this is Greek, was the early Gnostic name for Christ. Justin Martyr claims that the early Christians were called Christians, Chrestions. Listen to this. Footnote 1. A cross is the symbol of the old god Anu of the Assyrian myth, and Anu is the Egyptian place of the crossing and equinox. We just went over this in the Devil's Pullpit, right? Right? Page 220. Also of Anit, which is Nat, who brings forth the child at the crossing. To the Gnostics, who were the early Christians, Christ as the quote-unquote Word of God was never accepted as a man of flesh, manifestation of the Spirit through the illumination of the mind. So in other words, Christ is a manifestation of the Spirit through learning, through education, which y'all refuse to do. Most of y'all. It was the purification. Christ was a purification of the Spirit. Okay, let me skip down. Next paragraph. To them, to the Gnostics, Christos meant the impersonal principle, the Atma, A-T-M-A, within every man's soul, not Jesus. The fall, incarnation, atonement, and resurrection were never accepted literally by them, by the Gnostics. Let's go down a couple sentences. Crest, C-H-R-E-S-T, is stolen or borrowed from pagans and meant to them, quote unquote, a disciple on probation, a candidate for hierophantship, who, when he had attained it through initiation, long trials and sufferings, and had been anointed, that means rubbed with oil, was changed to Christos, C-H-R-E-S-T-O-S, the purified. The Christos, the man of sorrow, became Christos himself. The finding of the Christ within had taken place after you passed all of those tests. Do y'all see it? Do y'all see who you are? How wonderful you are? Do you see your own divinity? I hope you do. Assalamu alaikum. Islam to all the Moors. That means I, self, law, am master. Okay? Shalawama.